Hello, welcome to class. This is our class talking about life strategies for happiness and success. This is the International Strategic Management class. My name is Professor Sean Watts. I'm not going to waste your time. You can see all of my contacts here and download these files at any time. I can be found easily in Facebook, Sean Watts at Facebook, and I have these Zoom contacts, WhatsApp, Kakao. You can contact me in various ways at any time. So let's get into it. The whole idea of what are your strategies for happiness and success? That's most important. Ultimately, our class is going to be talking about strategic management, but I want to make sure that you understand how you should understand strategies for managing your personal self first. Many people focus on managing for money. Other people focus on managing for happiness. So whatever is your guideline should be covered here. So let's start by introducing myself. My name again is Sean Watts, and I want to point out how times are changing. We have coronavirus, we have globalization, we have the move online that started in the 1990s, we have the Industrial 4.0 revolution, and the whole world is moving away from a focus on Europe and North America and increasingly focusing on East Asia and Southeast Asia. So please make sure that you know about this environment and these numerous opportunities that are available, and use these things. Professors work for you. With these rapid changes, many people are open to new activities, not just me, but other professors and other company executives around the world. Invite them to interact with you. So use our class to network with other people. Executives and professors from around the world are willing to talk and interact. Many can join our class and talk to you or mentor you directly. I have professors from Samsung to professors in Korea, Canada, myself from Canada, Vietnam, Denmark, China, leverage our experiences, education, capabilities, and resources. I work for you to help develop your education, happiness, and success. And I want to help you achieve your dreams. Strive to achieve a better future for yourself. Plan as much as you can. Many people say if you don't plan, failing to plan equals planning to fail. The big picture, overall, everybody has the same amount of time. It's limited, 168 hours per week. Generally 40 or 30 to 40 hours at work, 56 sleeping. You have 70 to 80 hours left to develop whatever you want, whether it's a full-time job or your hobbies to make you more successful. Use these things wisely. I apologize. Myself is a consultant and professor. I am paid to give a lot of information and lecture. So here's a lot of information, but I think this is very important. Most people, if you want to focus and talk about strategy, you should start with your dreams and your goals and then work backwards. Most people do the opposite. Most people think, what do I have today? How can I get $1 million or success tomorrow? And that's very, very hard. It's better to focus on your dreams, maybe 20 years from now, and then say in half of that time, 20 years, half of that time, 10 years, what do I need to get to my total dreams? And keep working backwards until we get to today. So use your opportunities and work wisely in your environment so that we can develop your future better. Do these class papers so that they help you after class is finished. So make a paper, I'll give you a good mark, but after the class, do something that helps you also. So make your paper for a local company. Make some consulting reports and publish that. It can go into a journal, it can go into your resume. And at the same time, after you help a local company, you can also help a trillion-dollar company because they're giving away millions of dollars. You can apply for some of that through student grants, and they will pay you perhaps to do your class work. So don't follow just because everybody else is going to school or your mom and dad said go to school. Think of the big picture. Think wisely. Be a specialist now. Start leveraging your life now. There's lots of class intro, but what's much more important is the big picture. So the big picture for our class is your grades. And I'm just going to give away 10% of the grade for just showing up and sharing some information, attendance. Then your first major assignment is in our 15 weeks together. You need to pick one of those weeks' topics and present about it. Share some interesting information that can teach the class something about that topic. And that's worth 20 points. There's a bunch of information here that will help guide you on that. The biggest project is a specialization term paper. We have a draft of your research project that is due by week 7. That's worth 30%. You should replicate a published article and reference at least 7 reliable articles. And what I mean by that is Scopus or Web of Science articles. I'll be teaching that later on. In general, start with about 5 pages and present it in a PPT. Your 5 main points would be your introduction, your background literature, your methods, your results, your conclusion, etc. And then you have the rest of the semester to upgrade it into a formal paper, and that's worth 40 marks. Students' term papers can be on any topic of your choice related to this class and ideally a possible employer. The paper and the PPT generally cover these topics. As I've discussed, there's the abstract, which is a summary of the main points, teaching something new, and your introduction, which is talking about why the topic is important, etc. You can download this PPT and go through this later. Overall, this is the most popular and typical social sciences research paper. Follow this format and reference wisely. When you reference, make sure you reference reliable information. If you are not using reliable information, it's just gossip and there's no value at all. So anything from a newspaper or a blog is usually sexy topics or interesting topics, but it's only part of the topic. It's just an interesting side of the story, not the full story. So it's not really reliable, but it's new, so it still has value. More trusted information, possibly that's older, comes from journals, especially internationally peer-reviewed journals, such as Scopus, and the world's best is Web of Science. So you can go to www.scopus.com, use our university access, and download these details. If you're interested in marketing, this is the best. If you're generally interested in international business and management, you should be very clearly aware that this Academy of Management has many respected journals. Any journal that is associated with the Academy of Management is highly respected. So there's Academy of Management Annals, Academy of Management Journal, Academy of Management Perspectives, and then some other journals also. So use these highly reliable journals that reference properly. And then you can also use things that are reliable, but they don't reference well, like Forbes magazine or Fortune or Harvard Business Review. Your papers must reference at least 10 of those. Today, We're talking about the introduction to the class and the requirements, like I've just said, but ways to live and work efficiently for your whole life and in class. Invest in yourself and your financial security before investing in an employer. I will talk to you today about investing in stocks or Bitcoin and real estate. I'll also talk to you about career development and life planning, and then setting goals. This is what I want you to really focus on. Strategic planning and developing happiness and success. So it all hinges on what is your strategy. What do you do? Do you plan, or do you just go day to day and accept what life gives you? If you're just accepting what life gives, that's not planning, and life is going to hit you like a train. You must realize that life is like a game, and it's not a game that rewards just the hard worker or the smartest person. Sometimes it's not fair. You need to understand these rules and work with this game and understand what makes you happy, who are you, and then how can you or how should you live. Those are two completely different things. How should you live is very different than how can you live. Most people just live. The mom says, go to school, you go to school. All your friends going to school, you go to school. Everybody says, get a university degree, that will make you successful, but they forget to think about who's the most successful people in history. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. Did they go and graduate university? No. So pay attention to these details. Can you be happy and work and earn income separately? Absolutely. So let's take a look at a couple of key words. What does wealthy mean? Wealthy is your invested assets generate income to fund your standard of living. Rich is different. Rich is your non-work passive income equals or exceeds living expenses. Happy, in my opinion, is you must know who you are, do work you love, and have passive income that passes active living. Some of you should not know what active living is or what passive income is. So we should talk about that. If you want more information, you can read this book, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or read the book, The Outliers, or 7 Habits, The 4-Hour Work Week. These are all very good books to help you strategize and develop yourself. I personally suggest the idea of getting a property. You can buy a property and then rent it out to other people. Those people that stay in the property are tenants. They pay that money to buy the property for you, and they can pay you a monthly cash profit also. So think about that. Some people say that, oh, I don't have enough money, or a house costs way too much, but they fail to research and learn the details. You can buy a house quite often for 20% of the price of the house. So you put down 20%, you borrow 80%. Also, in many places, especially in Canada and United States or Korea, you can put down only 10% and borrow the rest. There are places where you can put down only 5%. And if you research wisely, or if you ask me, I can teach you there are ways to put down zero money down payment and buy a property. There's also ways you could actually get paid to take ownership. Some of them might be complicated, but I'd be happy to teach you about this stuff. Let's talk about this overall. Overall happiness. Most people get a job and they work for some big company for most of their life, thinking that is their route to happiness. Research shows that a lot of people don't retire well. They usually have stress frequently, and they may have arguments with their bosses, and by the time they're 65 or ready to retire, they may not have enough money to actually retire. So this is a new concept. If I show you this, for example, this is a website that I'm showing you where it lists many properties. This property is, they're selling fast. But this idea of the properties, oops. Generally, it was showing this $900,000 house has an apartment where people can live upstairs with a 3-bedroom apartment, and there's 4 bedrooms downstairs, and you can rent that out to other people. So upstairs, again, 3 bedrooms, kitchen, and 2 bathrooms upstairs, and in the basement, you have 2 separate apartments. And in that area, apartments generally rent for more than $2,000 a month. It's the same price as if you borrow all of this money from the bank. You generally have to pay about $2,000 each month to the bank to own this. So one person renting will buy the house. That money goes to pay the mortgage. But there's 2 other apartments there that are luxury. You could live in one and rent out the other. Just that alone should start getting you thinking. Now, the next topic is you can buy for free. There are 0 down options in the United States. It's called the 203K program or the Oklahoma financing. There's also the home improvement loans and financing possible in Canada and other places. There's also ways that you can invest only 5% to buy a property. Whatever it is, that property starting at $900,000 that somebody else buys, regardless of the price, somebody else buys it for you, and it goes up in value. If you check Canada, for example, Canada, the capital is Ottawa, and house prices there went up 19.8% on average last year. So 20% growth in the price of a house every year. And you just need a small down payment to start. And every year, somebody else is paying to slowly buy it, and it increases in value. Because it increases in value, the bank can give you money for that increase in value, and you can use that extra money to buy another house. And then that goes up in value next year, and you can buy more houses. So in your first year, your house goes up in value, and you can buy 2 more. And then that next year, you can buy 2 more from A, and 2 more from B, and 2 more from C, and it keeps replicating like that. Sounds strange. I encourage you guys to ask questions in class. Most people, however, they look at investing and they talk about stocks. They don't talk about real estate. Well, why? If you look at the big picture, you realize that a house doesn't usually change. And the idea of having a property that doesn't change isn't interesting. It's not news. So the news stories and journalists, they don't talk about it. And the idea of companies, they do change a lot. The CEO, like Elon Musk, can be spreading strange stories all the time, going to Mars, or Donald Trump creating stories that are crazy all the time. That is newsworthy. Stock is newsworthy. So you hear a lot of information about stocks, so people invest in them just because they talk about it a lot. However, the truth is stocks are usually not as good an investment as real estate and many other options. So check these details. I'm not advising you to invest. I'm advising you to think about details. I'd be happy to help. This cartoon is serious. Dear investors, please insert money here into the toilet. If you are renting a property, your rent every month is going into the toilet. If you're investing in stocks, there's a good chance your money is also going into the toilet. If you own a property, you, especially if somebody else is renting it and paying you for it, that is increasing in value. So you're getting wealthy from that. So check those details. This is an example. This handsome guy here, met him quite a while ago. He was a student studying business, and by the time we met, he was generally poor, but within a few short years, he took what we were talking about and he did it. You can do this very quickly. He did it quite quickly, and he actually retired or semi-retired in about 4 years. So by the time he was 20, he started learning about this. By the time he was 24, he no longer had to look for a job. He had money coming in from his rental properties, and his rental properties were increasing in value every year, allowing him to get more and more and build more and more. You should do the same. There are many types of individuals. This person thinks deeply, thinks wisely. You should do the same. Regular investors could be classified as a yuppie, young, urban professional, or a dink, which is a double income, no kids. Some of those double income couples, if they have no kids, they have extra money, so they use that money to invest. And then there's the young family that wants to invest, or midlife crisis, or the retiree. Then there's also the big institutions. So I'm not going to talk too much about the big institutions. I'm going to be talking about you as the individual when we're talking about strategic management. Later in the course, we will talk about managing companies. So make sure you understand there are different details and expertise, constituencies, liabilities. Learn as much as you can. Start with, since most people think money when they talk about success, understand that if you just put your money into a basic bank account, I call it put your money into a sock. I'm not saying stock account, I'm saying sock account. Then your money almost doesn't grow at all. It basically stays the same. However, if you do ask the bank to put it into an account that gives you compound interest, which you must understand, then your money grows exponentially. Start investing immediately. These sock accounts are bad. They waste your time, waste your money. Learn these details. Ask about and put your money into accounts that grow. How much does it grow? Compound interest magic. An 18-year-old invests $2,000 to $2,000 for just 6 years, and that would seem to be $12,000, and then they don't do anything else. If they walk away, they would retire with more than $750,000. However, if you wait and wait until you get a good job and get married and start getting serious and you start investing the same amount, by the time you're 30, you would invest $2,000 a year every year forever until you retire, and you still have less than that $12,000 the 18-year-old invested. You would only have $500,000 versus $768,000. Every year you wait costs you about 10%. Waiting 1 year costs an 18-year-old at least $75,000. So there's many types of investments. Government investment certificates, or bonds, or stocks, commodities, funds. Funds are usually better than these other details because funds are usually a little bit safer. Individual stock could go up or down, but nobody knows. And one thing I'll talk about later is that the stock, although you may think you invest in Tesla because you like the Tesla car, well, the reality is the Tesla car quality hasn't changed ever since it started. But the stock price goes up and down a lot. And so why? The reason is that the stock goes up and down, usually because of the news and what somebody is saying, unrelated to the company. If Elon Musk says something in an interview, the stock price could go up or down. The same for any types of stocks. Other than that, there's also the real estate, and there are dozens of different types of real estates. I am biased towards single-family residential real estate. It's different than commercial, different than apartments, different than industrial condos attached. Lots of details to learn about these things. So stocks, as I said earlier, they're open to outside influence. There's a few things you should be aware of. Stock manipulation and naked short selling is one of them. So those people with lots of capital can profit from pushing down stock price. Making the price of a company go down is a gamble. If you bet your friend, I bet this company price is going to go down, and he accepts, that is a bet. That is an investment. And if they're powerful with a lot of money, they can bet you and then turn around and tell the newspaper stories that that company is bad, or the CEO is doing drugs, or there's criminal activities, and the price will go down. That type of thing happens more than you can believe. So next, there's also the short selling, or death spirals, convertibles, and stock manipulations. The idea that some people buy and sell stocks when almost nobody actually has the original paper ownership of the stock. You just have a coupon of the original, because the original is kept in national security vaults type of things. Then since the stock brokers and agents don't have those stocks, and they know that they're changing hands a lot, some people can trade them even though they don't have them. And so that's related to naked short selling. I think we're getting into some very complicated stuff. The overall idea that I want you to be aware of is that stock prices can go up or down, and it has sometimes nothing to do with the company, nothing to do with the product, and it's usually just related to outside chit-chat, gossip. This is another example. This is talking about fails to deliver. What I'm saying here, fails to deliver, means maybe you know of Netflix or Krispy Kreme donut shop. What this shows is on this date, there was almost 5 million stock transactions where the person investing didn't actually show ownership. So they failed to prove they had the stock, and yet they sold it. And so what this shows is Netflix, wow, I don't want to get in trouble, don't want to get sued by making anybody look bad, but the newspaper story talks about how 192% of all investment in this company on this day was done without that person having the ownership of the stock. So it's kind of fraudulent. Stocks overall underperform real estate. If we understand University of Michigan research, they studied things, the stock market from 1963 to 1993, and the same thing holds true from 1925 until 2015, 2021 now, it's the same. The average stock is getting about 11% profit, 11% growth every year. That is similar to the average real estate growth. However, if you didn't invest in Tesla, or you didn't invest in Microsoft or Google or McDonald's or Coca-Cola, if you missed those best investments, and more specifically, if you missed the 90 best days where stock went up like crazy fast, your stock would drop to 3% profit. And we see here from 1966, for 16 years, the average stock lost 22%. And popular investing now focuses on day trading 3 or more hours per week. The equivalent time, thought, and energy put into residential real estate investing can provide not only your superior profit, in my personal opinion, but happier communities and safer returns. And the risk with the stock price going up and down is more than 17% standard deviation versus 5% for the real estate. And that's what we're showing here. This is a different study, and this study is by researchers Hassanov and Dacey in 2009. They studied all homeowners and US investments in the United States from 1952 to 2005, and they showed that the investment annual profit and the standard deviation, or the risk, for real estate, it was again about 11% and only 5% risk, or 5% going up and down, versus the average S&P 500 stock. It's about the same, 12%, but 17% risk going up and down. Just that alone shows, no doubt, housing belongs in a portfolio as a major, if not dominating, asset. Provides a high average net return, low volatility, and a low correlation with financial assets, and provides a great hedge against inflation. Any non-economic reason for owning a house is just a bonus. So I want to take this opportunity to show you this research report. Every student in class should ask and share as much information as you can, like this. This is from a very reliable journal. This is the Real Estate Economics Journal. The title of the story is Yet Another View on Why a Home is One's Castle. And if we look through here on the second page, this is what we're talking about. The idea that from 1952 to 2005, the return on investment for real estate was 10.9% with a standard deviation of 5, and the return on stocks was 12, but with 17% risk or standard deviation. So make sure in our class you share a lot of information, especially reliable journal articles like this. We've gone through quite a bit, and you're probably already a little bit aware of bonds, stocks, government certificates, funds, indexes, maybe the general idea of real estate, entrepreneurship, investing in a company job. We're going to talk soon about investing in yourself. Although this is just a video, we will talk at any time. You can contact me. My contacts are always there. Sean.Watts.Teaching @gmail.com, and Sean Watts. You can easily find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you have questions, it's a good idea to bring those to class and talk about them anytime you can, because as I say, there's many types of living, many types of investments, many types of strategies that are important. I am starting this class talking about overall strategies for financial security. Later, we'll talk about management strategies. Okay, so as we know, there's many types of investments. Let's get into investing in yourself. You should be thinking about yourself. Success comes from planning, hard work, and persistence. Developing a talent in an area that you love, one that has a market need, is important. Some people say just do what you love and you'll be successful. That's not true. You must make sure that you love it and you have a talent for it. And most importantly, there are customers willing to pay for it. There's a market need. So if you love your area, you will do that more than other people in the company. And if you do more of it or study it more than other people, you will get better at it than other people. And if you love it, the customers are going to see you smiling and being happy. Other people that don't love it, they might get angry or pissed off, and the customers are going to see that. So you will get much better. Realize that. The other thing is this book, The Outliers, identifies that anybody can be successful if you invest your time into that activity significantly. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, they started together at the same time, 1955, both doing computer programming, both putting more time into computer programming than anybody else, and they were very, very successful. The Rockefellers in 1839 and the Carnegies in 1835 and JP Morgan in 1837, they all became even more successful than Bill Gates. Like the Rockefellers, by developing Standard Oil, they went up to $600 billion. They all were a product of their environment. So you also have the opportunity to benefit from your environment. So develop things wisely. The Beatles, they developed from their environment, the beginning of that type of music, and they also had to put in a lot of time and practice, persistence, 10,000 hours before they were successful. Mozart, many people say he was a prodigy as a child, but he actually sucked when he was starting. And he only became good in his late teens or 20s. So same as Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, they started as just a regular kid, not very special, but they had more practice by the time they got to university than anybody else. So realize that this shows how Steve Jobs and Bill Gates went from 1968, just being a young 13-year-old in a computer programming club, to 1971. He spent all of his free time in the computer center of a university on weekends, basically breaking in and doing this when nobody else in the country actually knew about computer programming. He was doing it all the time. And then by the time he got into his senior year of high school, he was working as a programming sort of manager for other people. So the more you do, the better you get. Anybody that gets up to 10,000 hours of practice, which is generally equal to about 2 years, 1 year of nonstop work or 2 years of regular work, you will be successful. The Beatles is the same. But it's not just practice anything. You need to get a coach, surround yourself with like-minded people, build expert habits, always improve yourself. Don't waste time. Make sure you have deliberate practice, teach others. And so we are going to be doing those things in class. So I highly encourage you to tell me and share, what are your goals? What do you want in 20 years? What are your dreams? And then in order for you to get them, make your plans. So write down your big dreams and then say, in half of that time, in 10 years, this is what I need to get. In half of that, in 5 years, this is what I need. 2.5 years, in 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, 2 weeks, 1 week. So tomorrow or today, I need to do this, this, and this in order for me to get my dreams. It's a lot easier. At the same time, draw this picture. Identify who are the people that can help teach you to get those dreams. How can you meet those people? What type of skills do you need to be good? What type of activities can you join to develop your skills? All of those things should be thought about and written down 5 minutes each day. Next, think of yourself as a business. Think of yourself as a consultant. You're going to be spending the next many months working for this class. Why not think of yourself as a consultant, developing a consulting report? So what is a business, or what is a life plan? It's the same thing. Business plan, life plan, it's the same. Generally, although I've been teaching it for 20 years and there's many textbooks, the simple rule is you have many, many questions about your business or your life. Write those questions down, reasonable questions, and write down reasonable answers. Once you have reasonable, like 100 reasonable questions and answers, and you're satisfied with those, you should be able to start being successful. Same thing with your business. So write it down. Who, what, where, when, why. The 4 Ps, whether it's pestle analysis or SWOT analysis, those are all strategic management keywords, but it's the basic idea. Write down the popular questions and answers. Review those regularly, 5 minutes every day. Review them with other people. Check if you missed things. Check what other people think of your ideas. Start with understanding you, yourself. I highly recommend everybody go to this website. And this website is called www.humanmetrics.com. Again, humanmetrics.com. And you can identify what is your personality, what are your capabilities, what job are you good at, what career would match your style, what spouse or dating style would match you, what hobbies would match you. And ultimately, it will tell you that you are one of 16 different types of personalities. If you identify who you are, it will help match you with appropriate jobs and appropriate living styles so that you can excel and love yourself and your environment and have better success. Afterwards, some people say, well, I don't want to make a business plan because businesses are hard to do. And I've heard of so many people going out of business. Well, that's actually not true. That's a lot of gossip. These numbers that I'm showing here, this is from the Canadian Ministry of Industry Statistics, Stats Can. They record everybody with a social insurance number and paying tax, and anybody that registers a company, generally with a business plan. And they report that of every business starting, 89% of finance and insurance businesses are likely to survive more than 5 years. Real estate, 88% are likely to survive. So all of these, you can see more than 80 to 90% of all businesses are likely to survive beyond 5 years. But the key is write down the details. Develop your plans. Develop these plans daily. Read lots. Study lots. Think about your plan. Think about the big picture. These are good books. The 4-Hour Workweek talks about strategies to manage your time and start businesses, any business, quite quickly. The Outliers is good for people that might be shy, or if you're not confident about how to do things yourself. This book shows you that everybody is the same. Bill Gates is generally a success story because his parents put him into computer camps and gave him access to computers from almost middle school. And he had regular access with that. So anybody that is aware of their environment has the opportunity to be successful. This book talks about that. 1 Minute Manager teaches you how to manage, how to work with other people, and obviously influence other people. It is a good book here. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a great book for identifying how to manage and work with money. Overall, you should be aware of the 80-20 rule and Vilfredo Pareto's rule. 80% of your benefit comes from 20% of your results. Sorry, 80% of your benefit comes from 20% of your work. So be aware of that and keep trying to improve that top 20%. Always try to improve those top 20%. That's about it. We have a little bit more time, and I just wanted to start by showing you again who I am and the idea that I am a Canadian. I have been working since I was about 6 years old. I've had companies and staff before I was even old enough to drive. I had to actually hire staff to drive me to some work before. I wasn't great and successful back then, but I've got quite a bit of experience, and I can share that with you. I've worked with many different companies and 128 different countries. My PhD is in International Management and Information Systems. I also have a Global Executive MBA and a regular MBA. And before that, I was in nuclear medicine. That's my background. I have a Korean wife and 4 kids. Other than that, there's, as you can see here, about 150, 160 different slides. I'm not going to teach all of these unless you have questions. So I stop, and I usually only teach 20 to 30 slides per class. Today, what I wanted to focus on is the idea that you need to know that we have 2 main assignments in our class. You have to do a PPT about something interesting in any week, and you also have to do a research project. And in your research project, you need to generally finish it and present a draft by midterm time, by week 7. And that's worth 30%. And then you continue to develop that and share information with the class and present it in week 14 or 15. And that will be worth 40% in a final paper. The final paper, I showed you what it should look like. I showed you how you need to reference at least 10 different good, reliable journal articles in it. Then I talked to you about the idea of strategies depend on looking at the big picture with money, the big picture of stocks versus real estate, the big picture of types of investments, the big picture of the idea of time, and the 10,000 hour rule is quite important. Anybody that tries to specialize in a certain idea generally will become successful. So start developing your plan for what you want to be successful with later, and take daily activities, daily steps to get there. That's what we're talking about here. Yeah. Up at the very beginning, I showed you this slide again, which is most important. Start at the bottom, but start by listing your dreams and goals 20 years from now, and then work backwards from there. In half of that time, I need half of those results. In half of that time, I need half of those results. In half of that time, I need half of those results. It becomes much, much easier until you start writing down details each day. First Things First, or the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, those books by the same person, Stephen Covey, they will teach you those details. And look at the big picture again. The idea that every student does classwork, but then after the class is finished, your work generally goes in the garbage, is a shame. That's not very strategic. It's much better if you do activities that will help you climb those steps to success. So if you have a company that you want to work with, make your class paper for that local employer. Give them consulting ideas or solutions, whether it's for marketing or tourism or management. Develop your class paper, not just for class, but for that employer. And then you can publish that paper afterwards in a student journal, student newspaper, or a internationally peer-reviewed Scopus journal, ideally. And that can help your resume and help with the publication. And at the same time, look at the big picture idea of trillion-dollar companies have to pay a lot of money to poor people or poor students just so that they look good. And so corporate social responsibility grants could be applied for with almost a short text message, 200 words or 400 or 500 words, and you could get a lot of money that would pay you to do your classwork to help a company. So don't follow other people blindly. Don't just live your life according to what other people say. Think of what is your goal, what is your strategy, how you want to get there, and start doing things each day to get there and achieve those things. With that said, I'm going to just slowly show you some of these other 200 different other slides we can talk about later on. If you want to, there's lots of information I can talk about alternative investments like Bitcoin or real estate checklists, or I can explain the idea of the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I can summarize that book to you. I can show you examples of this house was bought for the value of the house was $150,000, but the buyer bought it for only $7,000. So for 5%, and you borrow all the rest of the money, you could own this. And it was rented out. As you can see, there's several bedrooms in this, 5 to 7 bedrooms in each one of these houses. These bedrooms are rented out for generally $350 to $400 each. That would pay the bank plus you a cash profit each month. And when you pay the bank, you are paying to slowly buy and increase your ownership in the house every month. So these are just examples. In this house, this is the master bedroom, this is the kitchen, this is one of the living rooms. Getting into real estate can definitely change your life. Okay, so make sure you're aware of the basic idea. Money is just an idea. The more you have a good knowledge of details, the better you will do. There's a variety of points we'll talk about. You need to understand these things. This talks about how you can develop yourself. This talks about time management. This talks about real estate management. This talks about details related to whether you're a small business owner or a staff or an owner, the likelihood of success, more details about real estate in major cities, costs of real estate, showing registration fees, how they can be achieved for free, how you can buy a property sometimes for free. Here's rental contracts. Then we get into the idea, after we go through rental contracts, how you should be aware of how to work with other people. You can hire people online to help you develop. Maybe if you need to develop a good paper, you might want to hire an editor from India or Nepal or Kenya, where they have great English skills at a very affordable rate. Start getting into this globalization, talking about this 10,000 hour rule. Again, start developing yourself now for success. With that said, I'm just going to stop here and see you soon in class. Feel free to use any of these contacts to contact me anytime. Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, thank you for valuable lessons, sir.
Any